Introduction. Imagine this. You've got an important request on your mind, something that could change your career, your relationships, or even your personal life. But every time you try to ask, something holds you back. You hesitate. You wonder what the other person will think. You fear rejection, and in that moment your request becomes smaller, weaker. Maybe you don't ask at all, and the opportunity slips away. What if I told you that the way you ask for something has the power to transform your life? What if I told you that mastering the art of asking could unlock doors to opportunities you never thought possible? Welcome to this podcast where we're going to explore just that. How to ask for what you want and get more yeses. Whether it's asking for a raise, requesting help with a project, or even asking someone out on a date, the way you frame your request can make all the difference. The truth is, most of us have never been taught how to ask effectively. Instead, we stumble through requests, often unsure of how to express our needs or fears of rejection, and we end up missing out. But what if you could learn to craft your message with confidence and clarity? What if you could approach any situation and confidently ask for what you need, knowing that you have the skills to turn your desires into reality? In this podcast, we'll dive deep into the psychology behind asking and explore strategies that can help you communicate your needs in a way that's compelling, respectful, and most importantly, effective. We'll look at how to frame your requests, how to avoid the common mistakes that turn people off, and how to overcome the fear of rejection that so often stops us from asking for what we truly want. By the end of this episode, you'll not only understand the importance of how you ask, but you'll also have practical tools that you can start using today to increase your chances of getting a yes. Let's dive in and start transforming the way you ask for what you want. Your next big opportunity could be just one confident request away. Section 1. Understanding the psychology of asking. Have you ever asked for something and received a response that left you wondering, what just happened? It could have been a request for a raise, a favor, or even something small, like asking for someone's opinion. Yet, despite asking in the right way, you were met with an unexpected response, either a rejection or a lukewarm answer. On the flip side, have you ever asked for something and gotten an enthusiastic yes? What made the difference? Was it just luck, or was there something more at play? The truth is, asking is not as simple as just stating your desire. Behind every request, there's a psychology at work that determines how people perceive your needs. How you ask, and even when and where you ask, has a profound effect on the outcome. Let's take a deep dive into this psychology and uncover the hidden elements that make a request more compelling. At its core, the way we ask for something is shaped by several psychological principles. Understanding these principles can give you an edge in any conversation, whether you're negotiating a business deal, seeking help from a colleague, or simply trying to convince a friend to join you for dinner. It's all about aligning your intentions with how others perceive your request. Framing. The power of positioning. Your ask. One of the most influential psychological factors when it comes to asking is framing. Framing refers to how you present or position your request, which significantly affects how the listener interprets it. Think about it this way. The same question can be framed in multiple ways, but how you phrase it can completely change the response you get. Imagine this. You approach someone with a question like, "You wouldn't happen to be able to help me with this, would you?" The response to this may be lukewarm, or you might even get a no right away. This is because the frame you've put around your request is weak. You're essentially predicting a negative response by showing hesitation. But now consider asking the same person with a statement like, "I know you're great at this, and I could really use your help." Suddenly the request sounds different. You're framing it as a positive ask, not only by recognizing the person's strengths, but also by projecting confidence in their ability to help. When you ask in a hesitant or uncertain way, it sends a message to the other person that you don't believe your request is valid or important. In essence, you're telling them that it might be inconvenient for them, and you're preemptively giving them permission to say no. On the other hand, when you ask confidently, you're telling them that you believe your request is reasonable and justified. This confidence makes it easier for the other person to say yes. The foot in the door technique, starting small to get bigger. Yeses. Here's another intriguing psychological technique that's often overlooked, the foot in the door technique. This concept is grounded in the idea that people are more likely to agree to a larger request if they have already agreed to a smaller, related one. This is because of the principle of consistency. Once someone has said yes to something small, they are more inclined to keep agreeing with you to maintain that consistent behavior. For instance, imagine you want to ask a colleague for a large favor, but you're not sure they'll say yes right away. Instead of starting with your big request, try starting small. Ask them for a minor favor first, something easy and quick to do, like providing feedback on a project. Once they've agreed to that small request, it becomes easier to ask for the bigger favor later on. By gradually building up the size of your requests, you increase the likelihood of getting a yes. The key to using the foot in the door technique is making sure that each request is connected in some way. You want the smaller ask to serve as a stepping stone to the larger one. By building this sense of gradual commitment, you're creating a path for people to follow and making it easier for them to say yes when it counts. Reciprocity, the subtle power of give and take. Another principle deeply embedded in the psychology of asking is reciprocity. As humans, we have an innate desire to return favors. This sense of fairness makes us want to help others who have helped us. If you've ever been asked for a favor after doing something nice for someone, you've probably noticed how much easier it is to agree. This principle of reciprocity is something that you can use to your advantage when making requests. For example, if you're asking someone for a favor, you might preface your request by acknowledging their previous help or contributions. I really appreciate how you helped me with that project last week, and I was hoping you might be able to help me with something similar. By starting with a genuine thank you or praise, you create a subtle sense of obligation, making the other person feel inclined to help you in return. However, it's crucial to note that reciprocity must feel authentic. If you are using praise or a favor as a form of manipulation, people will pick up on it and may feel used rather than valued. The best approach is to give sincerely and expect nothing in return. This makes your request feel more genuine and can enhance the overall quality of your relationships. The importance of empathy in asking. Empathy plays a significant role in how your request is received. When you ask for something, it's not just about what you want, it's also about understanding the other person's perspective and needs. People are more likely to respond positively to a request when they feel that their own interests and emotions are considered. For instance, if you are asking a colleague for extra work, acknowledging that they are busy and respecting their time can make all the difference. A statement like, "I know you've got a lot on your plate, but I'd really value your input on this project," shows that you're aware of their situation and that you respect their workload. This small gesture of empathy makes it more likely that they will feel inclined to help you because they see that you understand their perspective. Empathy is especially important when you are asking for something that might require extra effort on the other person's part. By framing your request in a way that demonstrates empathy, you reduce resistance and make it easier for the other person to say yes. Confidence and tone. How you ask matters. One of the most critical aspects of effective asking is how you deliver your request. Your tone, body language, and overall confidence can significantly impact how your message is received. When you speak with confidence, people are more likely to believe that what you're asking for is valid and reasonable. Confidence communicates that you believe in the worth of your request, and this belief makes it easier for others to agree. For example, when making a request, be sure to maintain good posture, make eye contact, and speak clearly. Your body language should match your words, sending a consistent message that you are confident and assured. Fidgeting, looking away, or speaking in a hesitant tone can undermine your message and make it less likely that the other person will agree. Confidence doesn't mean being arrogant or forceful. It means presenting your needs in a way that is firm but respectful. The more you practice speaking confidently, the easier it will become to make requests without hesitation. This confidence signals that you value your own needs and that you believe in the importance of your request. Conclusion: mastering the psychology of asking. Now that we've explored some of the psychological principles behind asking, it's clear that the way you present your request can make all the difference between a yes and a no. Whether it's framing your request effectively, using reciprocity to build trust, or demonstrating empathy, understanding these psychological tools gives you the power to ask with intention and confidence. The most important takeaway from this section is that asking is not just about the words you say, but how you say them. When you position your request strategically, empathize with the other person's perspective, and deliver it with confidence, you increase the likelihood of getting a positive response. As we move forward, remember that asking is a skill that can be honed and developed. With practice, you'll be able to make requests that not only get the answer you want, but also help you build stronger, more meaningful connections with others. So, take a moment to reflect on how you can apply these principles the next time you need to ask for something, and get ready to see the positive results. In the next section, we'll explore some of the advanced techniques you can use to enhance your asking skills even further, so stay tuned. Section 2. Common mistakes. When asking and how to avoid asking for something may seem like a straightforward task, but surprisingly, it's one of the most challenging aspects of communication. Whether you're asking for a favor, a raise, or simply requesting someone's time, the way you ask plays a crucial role in how your request will be received. What many people fail to realize is that there are common mistakes people make when asking for something, and these mistakes can significantly affect the outcome of their request. So let's take a closer look at the common mistakes people make when asking, and more importantly, how you can avoid them to increase your chances of success. Mistake number 1. Being unclear about what you want. It's easy to fall into the trap of being vague when we're unsure about our own needs, or when we feel hesitant about the impact of our request. For example, saying, "Could you help me with this?" without specifying what this is can leave the other person confused and uncertain about how to respond. Similarly, when requesting something from a colleague, phrases like, "I need you to do something for me," can come across as overly broad and leave room for misinterpretation. The key to avoiding this mistake is to be specific and clear about what you need. A clear request not only makes it easier for the other person to understand your needs, but also helps them assess whether or not they can fulfill your request. Instead of saying, "Could you help me with this?" try, "Could you assist me in preparing the report for this Friday's meeting?" This approach clearly defines what you want and sets clear expectations. Mistake number 2, not considering the timing. Timing is everything. Asking someone for a favor at the wrong time can make all the difference in how your request is received. Imagine you're asking a colleague for help with a big project, but they are in the middle of their own deadline and you're asking them on the spot. Even if your request is reasonable, the timing may be completely off, and your colleague may feel overwhelmed or burdened. To avoid this mistake, it's important to consider the other person's emotional and mental state before making your request. Pay attention to the context and the timing of your ask. If the person is in a rush or under pressure, consider waiting until a more appropriate time. For example, instead of asking for help right before an important meeting, you could say, "I know you're busy, but I wanted to ask for your input on something. Would you have time to discuss it tomorrow morning?" When you frame your request during a calmer or more relaxed moment, the chances of getting a positive response increase significantly. It shows that you are mindful of the other person's time and situation, which builds trust and rapport. Mistake number 3. Appearing too apologetic. Many people make the mistake of sounding too apologetic when they make a request. This often happens when they feel that their request is an inconvenience, or that they don't have the right to ask for something. Phrases like, "I'm sorry to bother you, but," or "I don't mean to trouble you, but," are often used in an attempt to soften the ask, but they have the opposite effect. They not only diminish the importance of your request, but also make you appear unsure of yourself. To avoid this mistake, focus on presenting your request with confidence. Rather than apologizing, reframe your ask in a way that shows respect for the other person's time without diminishing your own needs. For instance, instead of saying, "I'm sorry to ask this, but could you help me?" try saying, "I would really appreciate your help with this." Your input would make a huge difference. This shift in language conveys confidence and shows that you value both your own needs and the person you're asking. Mistake number 4, not giving enough context. Another mistake that people often make when asking for something is failing to provide enough context. Whether you're asking for a favor at work or for help with a personal matter, providing context is key to ensuring that the other person understands why you're asking and what's at stake. When you don't explain the reasoning behind your request, the other person might not grasp the full importance of your ask and may be less inclined to help. For example, if you ask a colleague for a last-minute favor without explaining why it's urgent, they may hesitate or say no. In contrast, when you explain why the favor matters, such as stating that the deadline is tight or that their expertise is crucial to meeting a goal, it becomes easier for them to see the value in fulfilling your request. When you make your request, try to frame it in a way that highlights the purpose and importance of what you're asking. For instance, instead of simply asking, "Can you help me with the presentation?" you could say, "I'm presenting this new project to the team tomorrow, and your input would make a big difference in how I present the material. I'd really appreciate your feedback." Mistake number 5. Focusing only on your needs. One of the biggest mistakes people make when asking for something is focusing solely on their own needs without considering the other person's perspective. If you approach a request as if it's all about you without showing any empathy or acknowledgement of the other person's time, expertise, or preferences, it can come across as selfish or demanding. People are much more likely to say yes when they feel that their needs and feelings are being considered as well. To avoid this, try framing your request in a way that benefits both you and the other person. Ask yourself how your request aligns with the other person's goals, interests, or values. If your request offers a win-win situation, the chances of receiving a positive response are much higher. For example, when asking for a colleague's help on a project, rather than simply saying, "I need your help," try framing it in a way that demonstrates how their expertise will enhance the outcome. "I value your experience in this area, and I think your insights could really elevate the project. It would be great if we could collaborate on this." This approach shows that you're mindful of the other person's strengths and how their involvement will make a difference. Mistake number 6. Overloading the ask. Sometimes people make the mistake of overwhelming the person they're asking by asking for too much at once. This can cause the other person to feel stressed or anxious about fulfilling your request, and as a result, they may either refuse outright or agree reluctantly. The key to avoiding this mistake is to break down your ask into smaller, more manageable parts. For example, instead of asking someone to take on an entire project, start by asking them to help with one specific task. Once they've agreed to that, you can gradually build on the relationship and ask for further assistance. By making smaller, incremental requests, you're more likely to receive a yes and avoid overwhelming the person you're asking. Additionally, when you break down your request into smaller parts, it also gives the other person the chance to feel a sense of accomplishment and contribution, which can make them more inclined to help again in the future. Mistake number 7. Failing to give appreciation. The final mistake that people often make when asking for something is failing to show appreciation once the request is granted. While many people focus on asking correctly, they overlook the importance of expressing gratitude once they receive the help or favor they've requested. Without gratitude, your request may seem transactional, and the person helping you may feel unappreciated. Make it a point to always show sincere appreciation, both immediately after the favor is granted and in the future. A simple, "Thank you so much for helping me out. Your support means a lot," can go a long way in building a positive relationship and ensuring that the person will be more likely to help you again in the future. Conclusion: turning mistakes into opportunities. Asking for what you want can be a delicate art, and as we've explored the mistakes people often make when asking, are more common than you might think. Whether it's being unclear about your request, asking at the wrong time, or focusing solely on your own needs, these missteps can cause your ask to fall short of a positive response. However, with a little awareness and practice, you can easily avoid these mistakes and improve your asking skills. By being clear, confident, considerate, and empathetic, you can make your requests in a way that resonates with others and increases your chances of success. Whether you're asking for a raise, a favor, or simply someone's time, the way you ask plays a critical role in how your request will be received. Now that we've identified these common mistakes and how to avoid them, you're one step closer to mastering the art of asking and getting the results you desire. Stay tuned for the next section, where we'll explore advanced techniques that can take your asking skills to the next level. Section 3. The power of timing and context in asking. When you ask for something, it's not just about what you say, it's also about when you say it and in what context you make your request. Timing and context are two of the most powerful elements that determine whether your request will be met with a positive response or fall flat. In this section, we'll dive into why these factors are so important and how you can use them to your advantage to get what you want. Understanding the role of timing. Timing can be the difference between getting a firm yes and hearing a hesitant no. Many of us are familiar with the feeling of asking for something and immediately regretting it, not because our request was unreasonable, but because we chose the wrong moment to ask. For instance, asking your boss for a raise right before a stressful meeting is unlikely to get you the response you desire. Similarly, asking a friend for a favor when they are overwhelmed with their own problems may come across as insensitive or inconsiderate. It's important to understand that when you make a request has just as much, if not more, impact as what you ask for. So, how do you know when the right time is? The right moment. The ideal time to ask for something is when the other person is in a receptive, open and calm state of mind. People are much more likely to say yes when they are not feeling stressed, distracted, or overwhelmed. Think of it like trying to talk to someone who is deep in thought. They might hear your words, but they are not fully present to respond. The same goes for making requests. If the person you are asking is preoccupied with something else, chances are your request will be met with resistance or indifference. Instead, observe the other person's mood and body language before making your ask. Are they calm? Are they engaged in the conversation? If the person is smiling, relaxed, and receptive, that's often the best time to ask for something. On the other hand, if they're distracted, stressed, or have a lot on their plate, it might be best to hold off until a better time. The timing of shared success. Another important timing consideration is the power of shared success. Imagine this. You've just completed a major project at work, and everyone is in high spirits, celebrating the success. This is a perfect moment to ask for something because the positive emotions and energy are still fresh. Whether you're asking for a favor, requesting a raise, or suggesting a new idea, timing your request after a moment of shared accomplishment increases the likelihood of a positive response. When you make a request in a positive context, it doesn't seem like you're asking for something in a vacuum. People are more likely to be generous and cooperative when they are already in a good mood and feel that their efforts have been acknowledged. The timing of positive interactions. It's not just about big moments of success. Smaller positive interactions also offer excellent timing for making requests. If you've just had a productive and friendly conversation with someone, that's a good moment to ask for help or support. The key here is to seize the moments when the person is most likely to be feeling good about their relationship with you and their own sense of accomplishment. You'll notice that timing is closely tied to emotional energy. People are more likely to agree to your request when they feel positive about their interaction with you, and this positive energy makes them more open and receptive. So, make sure you're aware of the emotional tone of your conversation and the other person's state of mind before you ask. The importance of context. Alongside timing, context plays a critical role in how your request will be perceived. The context of a conversation can influence how your request is received and whether it's seen as reasonable or out of place. If the context doesn't align with the nature of your ask, it can come across as abrupt, insensitive, or demanding. The context of the environment. Consider the environment in which you're asking. Is it appropriate for the request you're making? For example, asking someone for a big favor in a public setting where they may feel uncomfortable or pressured can backfire. On the other hand, making the same request in a private, relaxed setting is far more likely to yield a positive outcome. The environment sets the stage for how your request will be perceived. A public environment often has the potential for social pressure. When people are surrounded by others, they might be more hesitant to agree to a request, especially if it might reflect poorly on them or take up too much of their time. If possible, try to make your request in a private setting where the other person feels more comfortable. The context of relationship. The context of your relationship with the person you're asking also matters greatly. The dynamic you share with someone, whether it's a professional relationship, a friendship, or a more personal connection, affects the tone of your request and how it's received. For instance, if you have a good rapport with a colleague or boss, you're more likely to ask for a raise or a favor, and your request is more likely to be seen as reasonable. In contrast, if your relationship with the person is strained, even a small request can be perceived as too much. Take a moment to assess the strength of your relationship with the person you're asking. Are you on solid terms? Is there trust and mutual respect? If not, it might be worth putting in the time to strengthen the relationship before making any significant requests. The context of their needs. Another key context to consider is the needs of the person you're asking. Just as you have needs, the person you're asking has their own priorities, concerns, and goals. If you're asking someone for a favor, it's important to consider their current circumstances. Are they in a position to help you? Are they busy with their own responsibilities? For instance, if you're asking a friend for a favor, but they've recently experienced a loss or are dealing with personal issues, it's important to acknowledge that context. You might say, "I understand you're going through a tough time right now, but if you're able to help with this, I would really appreciate it." This shows empathy and ensures that your request doesn't come across as inconsiderate. Acknowledging the context of their life makes your request more thoughtful and respectful. Framing your request in the right context. Once you understand the context of the situation, the next step is framing your request within that context. This means presenting your ask in a way that aligns with the other person's values, needs, and current circumstances. Instead of focusing solely on what you want, you should also consider how your request fits into their world. For example, if you're asking a colleague to help you with a project, frame the request in a way that demonstrates how it benefits the team or the organization. If the person sees the value in your request and understands how it fits into the bigger picture, they are more likely to say yes. In contrast, if you ask for something that seems out of place or doesn't align with their current priorities, they may be more reluctant to help. Combining timing and context for maximum impact. When you combine good timing with an understanding of context, you create the perfect conditions for making an impactful request. Timing and context are like two pieces of a puzzle. When they fit together, your request is far more likely to succeed. Think of it this way. Imagine you want to ask your boss for a promotion. If you choose the right time, say, after completing a successful project, and you frame the request within the context of how it will benefit both you and the company, you greatly increase your chances of a favorable response. But if you ask at the wrong time, perhaps during a stressful period or when your boss is distracted, the same request might fall flat. To maximize your chances of success, take a moment to reflect on the timing and context of your request before making it. Ask yourself, is this the right time for the other person? Is the environment conducive to a positive conversation? How does this request align with their needs or goals? By paying attention to these details, you can make your request not only more effective, but also more considerate and respectful. Conclusion. Mastering the art of timing and context. In summary, timing and context are two of the most important factors when asking for something. The right timing can turn a hesitant no into a confident yes, while the wrong timing can cause even the most reasonable request to be rejected. Similarly, understanding the context of your relationship, the environment, and the other person's needs allows you to craft a request that resonates and feels appropriate. Mastering the art of timing and context is a crucial skill in effective communication. By taking the time to observe and understand these factors, you can increase your chances of success and build stronger, more positive relationships. Remember, timing and context aren't just about when and where you ask. They are about being considerate, thoughtful, and strategic in how you make your requests. With practice, you'll learn to leverage these elements to get more of what you want when you need it most. Section 4. Advanced Techniques to Ask Like a Pro. Asking for what you want is an art, and just like any craft, the more you practice, the better you become. But there's a difference between simply asking for something and asking for something in a way that makes the other person want to say yes. In this section, we'll dive into advanced techniques that can elevate your asking skills to the next level. These methods go beyond basic communication strategies and tap into the psychology of influence, empathy, and precision. Mastering these advanced techniques will not only increase your success rate when making requests, but will also allow you to ask in a way that strengthens your relationships and positions you as a confident, thoughtful communicator. The power of framing your request. Framing your request properly is one of the most powerful tools in influencing how others perceive and respond to what you ask. It's all about how you present your request to the other person and how it aligns with their values, interests, and current mindset. When you frame a request effectively, it resonates with the listener, making them more likely to respond positively. One of the most successful framing techniques is known as the mutual benefit approach. This involves framing your request in a way that not only highlights your needs, but also shows how it benefits the other person. For example, when asking a colleague for help, don't just say, "Can you help me with this project?" Instead, say something like, "I could really use your expertise on this project, and I believe your input could make it even better. Together we can make it a success." By doing this, you're showing that your request isn't just about what you need, it's about creating a win-win situation for both parties involved. Another powerful framing tool is called the inclusive language technique. Instead of positioning your request as a demand, you present it as something you're both involved in. For instance, instead of saying, "I need you to help me with this task," try saying, "Let's work together on this. I'd love to get your thoughts on how we can approach this more efficiently." This subtly shifts the dynamic from one person asking and another responding to a collaborative effort that encourages mutual involvement, the art of the soft close. The soft close is a technique used to subtly guide someone towards agreeing to your request without being overt. It's about making the other person feel comfortable with saying yes. The key here is to reduce the pressure of a direct ask. Instead of stating your request in a forceful way, use language that makes the request feel more like a suggestion or a natural next step. For example, if you're asking for a favor rather than saying, "Can you do this for me?" you could say, "I'd really appreciate your help with this if you have the time." Notice how the second version is less direct and gives the other person an easy out, making them feel less pressured while still encouraging them to agree. This soft close works particularly well in situations where the person may be hesitant or where the relationship is still in the building phase. Another way to employ the soft close is by using a question format that presupposes the answer you want. For example, instead of asking, "Can you give me feedback on this?" which leaves room for uncertainty, try saying, "When would be a good time for you to give me feedback on this?" This presupposes that they will indeed give feedback and guides the conversation in the direction you want it to go. Mastering the foot in the door technique. The foot in the door technique is one of the most effective persuasion methods and is rooted in the principle of consistency. The idea is simple. Once someone agrees to a small request, they are more likely to agree to a larger one later. This works because humans have an inherent need for consistency. If they have already agreed to something small, they feel an internal pressure to act consistently and follow through with larger requests. Let's say you're asking for help with a big project at work. Rather than jumping straight into the heavy ask, you start with something small and easy to say yes to, like, "Could you look over this report for me? It'll only take a few minutes." Once the person agrees to the small task, it's easier to ask for a larger commitment because they've already taken the first step. Over time, as you build this pattern of small asks leading to larger ones, you create a natural flow that makes asking for what you need feel less intimidating and more manageable for both parties. The power of emotional appeal. While logic and facts play a role in getting others to say yes, emotional appeal is often the driving force behind decision-making. Humans are emotional creatures, and many decisions, especially the ones we make in everyday life, are influenced more by how we feel than by rational thought. The trick is to connect with the other person emotionally, making them feel good about your request. Emotional appeal doesn't mean manipulating someone or using guilt to get what you want. It means showing empathy and understanding, connecting with the person on a human level. For example, if you're asking a colleague for help, you might say, "I've been working hard on this project, and your expertise would really take it to the next level. I really admire the work you've done in the past, and I could really use your insights." This shows not only that you value their skills, but also that you respect them and recognize their worth, which triggers positive emotions and makes them more likely to respond favorably to your request. Another powerful tool is storytelling. When you can frame your request within a story, especially one that evokes positive emotions, it can make the request feel more compelling. For example, instead of simply asking for help with a task, you might share a short story about how the person's past input helped you in a similar situation, or how you both worked together on a past project that was a success. By doing this, you remind the person of the positive experiences and emotions that have come from working with you, and it builds a sense of mutual respect and goodwill that makes them more willing to help. The role of body language in asking your words matter, but so does the way you present yourself physically. Body language can either reinforce the message you are trying to convey or undermine it entirely. Think about it. If you're asking for something but your body language suggests uncertainty or reluctance, the other person will pick up on it, and it may make them hesitant to say yes. When making a request, you should stand tall, maintain good posture, and avoid crossing your arms or legs, which can make you appear closed off or defensive. Instead, use open, welcoming gestures that convey warmth and confidence. A firm yet friendly handshake or a warm smile can also help set the tone for a positive exchange. Additionally, making eye contact is crucial. It shows that you are confident and engaged in the conversation. However, be mindful not to overdo it, as too much eye contact can come across as intimidating or confrontational. The key is to maintain a balance that communicates respect and openness. Practicing gratitude and positivity. When making a request, it's important to express gratitude both before and after the ask. Gratitude shows appreciation for the other person's time and consideration, and it helps create a positive dynamic that encourages cooperation. Even if the other person is unable to fulfill your request, showing gratitude for their time and effort leaves the door open for future requests. Additionally, maintaining a positive attitude throughout the conversation helps foster an environment of cooperation. If you approach your ask with optimism and confidence, the other person is more likely to respond in kind. Your attitude can set the tone for the entire interaction, and when you project a positive, upbeat demeanor, it encourages the other person to engage with you in a similarly positive way. Conclusion. Mastering the art of asking is a skill that combines various techniques: framing, emotional appeal, timing, and even body language, all of which work together to increase your chances of success. By practicing these advanced techniques, you will find that asking becomes a much more strategic and effective process, rather than a nerve-wracking experience. Remember, asking is not about being demanding or manipulative. It's about being thoughtful, respectful, and confident. The more you understand the psychology behind asking and implement these strategies in real-world situations, the more likely you are to get the response you desire. Whether you're asking for help, making a professional request, or seeking support in personal relationships, These advanced techniques can empower you to ask like a pro and achieve your goals with greater ease and confidence. Section 5. Overcoming fear of rejection. Rejection. It is a word that can send shivers down anyone's spine, whether it's the fear of being turned down for a job, the uncertainty of asking someone out, or even the hesitation to ask a colleague for help. The fear of rejection can paralyze us in moments that matter most. It's an emotion we all experience at one point or another. But what if I told you that rejection does not have to hold you back? What if you could learn to embrace it, learn from it, and ultimately use it to your advantage? Rejection is a natural part of life. It is a part of every journey to success, growth, and self-improvement. However, many people let the fear of rejection control their lives, leading them to avoid opportunities or shy away from making the requests that could change their lives. The key to overcoming this fear lies in understanding its root cause and learning strategies to handle it effectively. Once you are able to reframe your thinking around rejection, you will find that it loses its power over you. Understanding the fear of rejection. At its core, the fear of rejection is rooted in our deep-seated desire to belong and be accepted. As social creatures, we are wired to seek connection with others. This drive to belong has been hardwired into our DNA for survival purposes. In the past, being rejected or excluded could mean isolation from a group, which could be dangerous for survival. Fast forward to today, and while the consequences of rejection are not as extreme as they once were, the emotional impact is still profound. When we experience rejection, we feel vulnerable, exposed, and often unworthy. The fear of rejection is not just about hearing no, it's about what that no means to us on a deeper level. We often equate rejection with failure, thinking that it reflects something negative about who we are as individuals. In reality, rejection is not a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of the circumstances, the timing, or the other person's perspective. When you understand that rejection is not a personal attack, it becomes easier to handle, and it loses its power to affect your confidence and self-esteem. Reframing rejection. Changing your perspective. One of the most effective ways to overcome the fear of rejection is by reframing the way you view it. Instead of seeing rejection as a personal failure, start seeing it as a stepping stone to success. Every rejection is an opportunity to learn and grow. If you let rejection define you, you will miss out on countless opportunities. But if you embrace it as a natural part of the process, you will begin to see it as a necessary component of your journey towards success. Think about the most successful people you admire. I'm willing to bet that they have faced rejection countless times in their lives. What makes them different is not that they were immune to rejection, but that they didn't let it stop them. Instead of viewing rejection as a dead end, they viewed it as feedback that could help them improve. Each no they received was simply a step closer to a yes. The power of desensitization. One of the most powerful techniques to overcome the fear of rejection is desensitization. This may sound intimidating, but it's incredibly effective. Desensitization involves deliberately putting yourself in situations where rejection is a possibility, but the stakes are low. By exposing yourself to rejection in small, controlled situations, you will begin to build resilience and reduce the emotional impact of rejection. For example, you might start by asking for something simple and low risk, such as asking for a discount at a store when you know the answer will probably be no. Or ask a colleague for a small favor that you know they might not have time for. The goal is not to get a yes, but to get comfortable with hearing no. The more you face rejection in these small ways, the less intimidating it will become when the stakes are higher. Over time, this practice will make you less fearful of rejection and more confident in your ability to handle it. The key is to see rejection as a normal, even useful part of life. By gradually exposing yourself to it, you'll be able to handle more significant rejections with grace and composure. Developing resilience. Bouncing back from rejection. Rejection may sting, but it doesn't have to keep you down. The ability to bounce back from rejection is crucial to overcoming the fear of it. Resilience is a skill that can be developed, and it is essential to building confidence and mental toughness. Every time you experience rejection, take a moment to reflect on what happened, but don't dwell on it. Instead, focus on how you can learn from the experience and move forward. One helpful technique is to reframe the rejection as a learning opportunity. After being turned down for something, ask yourself what you can take away from the experience. Was there something about the way you presented your request that could be improved? Could you have timed it better? Did you miss any non-verbal cues from the person you were speaking with? This self-reflection helps you grow from the experience and prevents you from getting stuck in negative emotions. Additionally, practice self-compassion. It's easy to be hard on yourself after facing rejection, but being kind to yourself is key to moving on. Remind yourself that rejection does not define you. It's a temporary setback, not a permanent failure. By treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding you would offer to a friend in a similar situation, you'll find it easier to recover and keep going, using rejection as feedback. Another important way to deal with rejection is to view it as feedback rather than failure. Rejection is often not a personal judgment. It's simply a reflection of circumstances. Maybe the timing wasn't right, or the person you were asking didn't have the capacity to help. When you view rejection as feedback, you shift your focus away from the emotional impact and onto the practical aspects of what can be improved. For example, if you ask your boss for a raise and the answer is no, don't take it personally. Instead, use it as an opportunity to ask for feedback. You might say something like, "I appreciate your response. Can you share with me what I can do to make my case stronger next time?" By asking for feedback, you not only gain valuable insights into how you can improve, but you also demonstrate your willingness to grow and learn. This can actually strengthen your relationship with the person who rejected you, as it shows that you are open to constructive criticism. Building confidence and reducing anxiety. Fear of rejection often leads to anxiety, which can further hinder your ability to ask for what you want. One way to reduce anxiety is through mental preparation. Before making a request, take a moment to visualize both outcomes, the positive response and the negative one. Imagine how you will feel in each scenario and rehearse how you will respond. This mental rehearsal helps to reduce the shock of a rejection and prepares you to handle the situation with composure. Additionally, focus on building your overall confidence. The more confident you are in your abilities, the less you will fear rejection. Confidence comes from knowing that your request is valid and that you have a right to ask for what you want. Practice self-affirmations to remind yourself of your worth and capabilities. When you approach a request with the belief that you are deserving of a positive outcome, you will be more likely to project that confidence to the person you are asking. Conclusion. Overcoming the fear of rejection is not about eliminating it completely, but about learning how to manage it and use it to your advantage. Rejection is a part of life, and it doesn't define who you are. By reframing your thinking, desensitizing yourself to rejection, developing resilience and using rejection as feedback, you can significantly reduce its impact on your life. The next time you feel that familiar pang of fear before making a request, remember that rejection is not a personal attack. It's an opportunity to learn, grow, and refine your approach. With practice, you'll become more comfortable with rejection and more confident in asking for what you want. Rejection will no longer have the power to hold you back. It will become just another stepping stone toward achieving your goals. By embracing rejection as part of your journey, you will empower yourself to take bold action, make confident requests, and ultimately create the life you desire. Conclusion. As we come to the end of this journey, it's time to reflect on what we've learned about the art of asking. If there's one thing you should take away from this, it is this. The way you ask can shape your reality. Whether you are seeking a career opportunity, trying to build stronger relationships, or simply striving for personal growth, the ability to ask confidently and effectively is a skill that can open doors and transform your life. We've explored the psychology behind asking and how small changes in how you ask can lead to powerful results. We've looked at the importance of framing your request in a way that resonates with others, the timing of when to ask, and the necessity of approaching each situation with empathy and confidence. But most importantly, we've seen how mastering the art of asking is not just about getting what you want, it's about creating meaningful connections with others, building trust, and respecting the needs and perspectives of those around you. Remember, asking is not a sign of weakness, but a demonstration of your belief in the value of your request. The next time you find yourself hesitating before asking for something, take a moment to check in with yourself. Do you believe that what you're asking for is worthy? Are you approaching the situation with the confidence that your request has value? When you ask with intention, clarity, and respect, you are not just seeking an outcome, you are building a foundation for collaboration, mutual respect, and growth. Fear of rejection is natural, but as we've discussed, it doesn't have to hold you back. Each no you encounter is not a reflection of your worth. Rather, it's a step toward learning, refining your approach, and finding new opportunities. By embracing rejection as part of the process, you will find that asking becomes easier and more empowering with each attempt. So as you move forward, take what you've learned and apply it. Whether in your personal or professional life, start asking with more confidence and clarity. Notice how the world around you responds when you shift your approach, and how opportunities begin to unfold in ways you never imagined. Your voice matters, your needs are valid, and the ability to ask is a powerful tool that, when used wisely, will unlock doors you never thought possible. Thank you for joining me on this journey. May you find the courage to ask for what you want and the confidence to turn your desires into reality. Now go out and start asking, thoughtfully, intentionally, and with purpose. The life you've always dreamed of is only one confident request away.